All right, so welcome. Thank you guys for coming tonight. This is our very first in our series of workshops. We're going to be doing 3 workshops in this series. This first one is really to help you understand why the choices that we make on a day-to-day basis are so critical to our health, our happiness, and that of our families. We're going to lay the groundwork first by giving you some recent statistics and some current up-to-date research on the state of health of Americans. And it's probably not a surprise to anybody that it's not great. And we want to start taking steps to change that. So we're going to be beginning with a lot of research of how our day-to-day choices, they start to accumulate and what that does to our health over time. So this has been our most widely or actively attended workshop. We had the most requests for this than we have of any workshop that we've done. And quite honestly, it's really easy what to eat. I don't think it's a surprise to any of you that you should probably choose the salad over the donut, right? I mean, I can cut to the chase and tell you what you should eat. It would take about 2 minutes and we would be done. But what we want to really talk about is what the accumulated effects of when you choose the donut over the apple, what that does in our body. And if you knew that choosing the donut over the apple, that behavior resulted in moving you closer towards developing a chronic disease. Instead of just the common idea is, oh, I had a donut for breakfast, or my kid had a donut for breakfast. They may be a little more squirrely for an hour or two, or oh, I might need to exercise a little bit longer today because I'm going to gain a little weight from that. If you really knew, if you understood that all of those choices, that when you eat the donut or your child eats the donut, it's not just putting on pounds or not just causing hyperactivity or causing you to feel really tired later. It's moving you into the category of the 80% of adults who now have chronic disease. And I have a lot of things to read off of, so you're going to see me reading an awful lot today. 80% of adults have one chronic illness. 50% of adults have 2 or more. How many people, either yourself, and you don't need to raise your hand, but either yourself or someone you know struggles with chronic pain, fatigue, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, digestive problems, cancer, emotional problems, learning disabilities, allergies, skin problems, infertility, low sex drive, sleep disorders, ADHD, autism, etc. Every single one of us either knows somebody or ourselves has one or more of those things. And what's kind of scary is that we've been led to believe through marketing, when you turn on the TV, we've been led to believe that our day-to-day choices, they don't matter because somebody will take care of that. Somebody will say, oh, you have high blood pressure, don't worry. You have acid reflux, don't worry. You can't sleep at night, insomnia, don't worry, we'll take care of that. There's a pill for that. However, that comes with a cost. And I, in my opinion, hope that all of you are here not just to learn, well, maybe I should choose that apple over the donut, but that for me, I feel it's my personal responsibility to make choices to keep me healthy so that my spouse doesn't have to figure it out for me. And so that my kids don't have to take care of me. And society at large doesn't burden the weight of my illness and chronic preventable disease. When I'm 50 and above, I want to still be practicing, but I want to be traveling. I want to be experiencing life with my husband. I want my kids to have a life that doesn't depend on taking care of me. Come on in, have a seat. And that comes with the day-to-day choices I make now. It's so easy to start thinking, we're invincible. At this age, at your age, I'm so glad you guys are here, that we're invincible and it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And that's what we hope to share with you guys today. This is a quote from the United Health Foundation. Direct quotes, there is a tsunami of chronic preventable disease about to be unleashed into our medical care system, which is increasingly unaffordable. It costs a lot of money when people are dependent on medication, on disability, on nursing homes. Not only money to the government, but money to your personal spending, to your personal savings. Things that could be spent on enjoying life is spent on managing your health. And we want to help empower you to learn how to do things different so that your kids and you can live a better life. Okay. In your handout, these are direct quotes from this journal of lifestyle medicine and healthcare reform. Now, this is back in 2009. I can almost guarantee that all these numbers have gone up since then. But I just wanted to point out a couple of these. That the lack of exercise and poor nutrition are responsible for or contribute to virtually every case of cancer. What if you knew that because you just didn't feel like exercising or you thought that was a luxury for when you have more time, that you were increasing your risk day to day of cancer? What if you knew that when you choose packaged foods and convenience foods day to day, that increases your risk of cancer? Not just that you're tired. More than 2/3 of the adult population in the U.S. is either overweight or obese. Less than 25% of adults get adequate servings of fruits and vegetables or even follow good nutrition principles. It's amazing to me when I talk to people how few actually eat fresh food on a daily basis. More than 70% of the U.S. population fails to get enough physical activity to derive any health benefit. 24% of the U.S. population has no physical activity per day. None. And this doesn't mean walking in and out of the store. No physical activity per day. And what's concerning to me and in the business that we're in and the practice that we run is that the incidence of childhood obesity and its related metabolic effects has tripled in the past 20 years. Do you know that this is the very first generation of children that is predicted to have a shorter lifespan than their parents? The first one ever in history. If that doesn't give you chills and cause you to kind of sit up a little bit and say, what are we doing to our population that now our children are struggling with chronic illness from an early age and they are not predicted to outlive our age? That scares me. It scares me as a mom of 3. However, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to kind of come back to this. This handout, if you pull it out, has a lot of information in it, each sentence. And they're direct quotes. They're really run-on sentences. I did not write them. I do not like run-on sentences. But I said, Brad's like, do you know it's run-on? I'm like, it's a quote. It's a direct quote. He's like, well, here's how you write. I'm like, I just take direct things. Okay, so if you look at the top paragraph, if we help practitioners learn how to help patients address the real cause of disease with lifestyle intervention and not just treat the risk factors, which the risk factors are simply effects of poor lifestyle choices with medications and surgery, we can save almost $1.9 trillion over 10 years. $1.9 trillion, that's a lot of money. You guys know I don't watch the news. I think we're like in some sort of national debt problem. I think I've gathered that. But that seems like that would be helpful to the economy. 5 major diseases: heart disease, diabetes, prediabetes, or metabolic syndrome, prostate and breast cancer. Everybody knows somebody that's affected by those. If we can start taking steps today It not only has an effect on us, but on our whole economy. And in my opinion, that is our civil duty to take responsibility for our health and not leave it up to somebody else to help us when we fall apart. This is important. The distinction between risk factors and causes is an important one. High blood pressure. So when you go to your doctor and get your physical, what do they check? Your blood pressure, your cholesterol, that's what dyslipidemia is, where your cholesterol numbers are out of balance, elevated C-reactive protein, and glucose, elevated glucose. They're not in and of themselves the real cause of chronic disease, but they're simply just markers that are the effects of environmental toxins, what we eat, how much we exercise, and how we respond to stress. This is a direct quote out of this journal. And this is also interesting. Lifestyle addresses not only risk factor modulation or reduction, but what we eat and how we live our lives, it influences the fundamental biological mechanisms leading to disease. Changes gene expression. Our genes can be changed by what we eat and how we live. Modulates inflammation. Almost every case of heart disease, cancer, metabolic syndrome, everything else, but especially cancer, has an underlying inflammatory cause in the body. Oxidative stress, again, cancer. Metabolic dysfunction, this is diabetes, heart disease. These are big things. So lifestyle isn't a luxury. It's not just a luxury to go exercise or to choose to make your own foods. It's necessary for your cells to function. Do you know that when you introduce stress into your body, it causes your cells to start dividing faster? And we only have so many times that our cells are able to divide before we're dead. That's just kind of how it works. So you don't want them to divide so fast. Every time we're under stress, it increases the rate, decreasing our lifespan of that cell division. Interesting. So in the blue box, you're in the right place. We're here to help. We really are. We really, really, really want to help you. So with that being said, are you talking now?
I'm talking now.
Okay.
You ready? All right, choices. Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. So as many of you know, I've been a patient of Dr. Stephanie's. It's close to 7 years now. And I have to tell you, I didn't grow up in a home that preached eat your salads. In fact, I grew up in a home where it was okay to drink Diet Coke as a kiddo. It was okay to eat the processed food. And I was actually rewarded with fast food whenever I had good grades or whenever I got my chores done. I was brought up in a home where the vegetables we ate typically came out of a can. So when I stand up here and talk about life change, it's real. I didn't grow up in a home that promoted healthy lifestyle. I grew up in a home where we were on a budget and we had to make do with what we had. So when I say it took me 4 to 5 years to make the changes that I've made today, it's because I had to address this, my beliefs. Because guess what? My beliefs were, well, it's just how my family ate, so that's how I'm gonna eat. So let me back up. I remember my new patient appointment like it was yesterday. Yes, I got placed on a care plan. And in that care plan, and by the way, I've been a patient of Dr. Stephanie's for 7 years. So life, do we know that life isn't just a straight shot up? I've had more than one care plan. Just spoiler alert. But anyway, rolling back. I remember being placed on a care plan. And the first couple of months of my care plan, I came into Dr. Stephanie's office. I was having severe abdominal pain. I was having spasms in my abdominals. And I came in for my adjustment. I sat down. I'm like, Dr. Stephanie, I have bad news. I think I need to have my gallbladder removed. She's like, what? What are you talking about? I told her what I was experiencing. She's like, okay, well, why do you think it's your gallbladder? And I told her, I said, my mom, my grandmother, my sister, my aunt, they've all had their gallbladders removed. I think that's where I'm headed. She did one of these. How many of you have seen that face? And she's like, well, I have a question. I'm like, okay. I'm still in severe pain. She said, do you think you eat similarly than to your family? Do you think you eat the same foods? And I really thought about that for a minute. We have the same family dinners. I make the same foods at home. As an adult, I probably eat a smidgen worse because almost every day I'm eating fast food for lunch because that's just what you do. And I was like, yeah, I think we eat about the same foods. Yeah. She said, do you think maybe if you changed what you ate, do you think maybe you would have a different outcome? Because, by the way, you're not born with a bad gallbladder. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe. Huh. And light bulbs started going off. And I said, well, hold on. Heart disease runs in my dad's side of the family. Is it the same thing? Like, if I change what I'm doing, will I have a different outcome? And I remember for the first time I heard her say, well, what do you think? Again, how many of you guys have heard that from Dr. Stephanie? And spoiler alert, when you hear that from her, that typically means either A, you're on the right path, or B, ask another question because you're getting there. So I sat back, I'm like, oh my word. So I left her office after getting adjusted feeling so empowered and inspired because I thought, oh my gosh, I can change the course of my life. So from her office to my car, wasn't a long walk. I remember I got into my car and I sat down. I'm like, oh, I'm so inspired. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh. But that means I choose. The responsibility hit me. And it was heavy. It was so heavy. I remember driving home thinking, I have to make all these choices. All the choices. I don't know what to do. It was a feeling of I don't know what to do. And I can either choose to promote health in my body, or I can keep making the choices that promote illness. And that responsibility was a lot. And I want to tell you, it took me 4 to 5 years to change this. Because it doesn't happen overnight. It took me making one small choice. Okay, today I'm not going to drink a Diet Coke. Today I'm going to drink a regular Coke because she said aspartame's bad. And then it went to, hold on, I'm going to give up the Diet Coke and I'm going to go to sweet tea. Wait, so much sugar. Wait, I'm going to go to just regular unsweetened tea. Fine, I guess I'll go to water. I guess I'll put a lemon in it. Do you see my trend? So these things that we're going to talk about today, I don't want you to think, I've got to be perfect. Perfection is never the goal. Never. And we'll never reach it. I'll never reach it. Dr. Stephanie may never reach it. No. But guess what? It's progress. It's moving you forward. So this is my hope for this workshop. I want you all to leave so empowered because your choices matter. Your choices change your life. But I also hope by the time you get to your car, you have that feeling of, okay, because this is serious. This determines your health. This determines how you live your life. So, what does that lead to? What is illness? Okay, so by the way, we're going to talk a lot about illness. When I say illness, I don't mean pneumonia. I don't mean the common cold. I don't mean flu. I mean cancer. I mean diabetes. I mean reflux. I mean all of the major
Anxiety.
depression, all of them. We mean them all. There are 2 underlying causes that drive cells in a state of stress and illness. 2 of them, deficiency and toxicity. What is deficiency? Cells do not receive the nutrients that our bodies require to express health. Toxicity is when cells are poisoned with toxins that force the expression of illness. Okay. I want you guys to think about something, and I actually want you guys to play around with this. How many of you would take a water cup and go to the closest stream to your home without a filter and pick up the water and drink it? Raise your hand if you would do that. Next question. How many of you would take the same cup, it's a clean cup, and go to the farm where you buy your fruits and vegetables for yourself and your family? How many of you would take that cup and drink the runoff from that farm without a filter? Okay. So I have a question. How come we think it's okay that this water is polluted, animals are dying from drinking it or living in it, but somehow we're okay? Does that make sense? How's that right? Do you remember back in the 70s when the Great Lakes were dying off and all the fish were washing up on the shores with tumors and illness? Does anybody remember this? Yeah. And the birds were coming down and eating those fish? What were happening to the birds? Their eggs were brittle, right? And biologists actually thought those birds were going to go extinct. So, do you think they came in and dumped a bunch of drugs and chemotherapy into the water? Or set up little hospitals to do surgeries on all the fish? Who believes that happened? Right, it's laughable. It's totally laughable. No, what did they do? They addressed the environment and the habitat. They went in and cleaned up the lakes. Okay. So if it's silly for fish, why is it okay for humans? That doesn't make sense, right? So I think we can move past the fact that it's not bad genes and it's not bad luck. Maybe it's bad choices. Maybe that's our next step of thinking. Goes back to beliefs, always. So the choices are yours, truly, and mine, and Dr. Stephanie's. So we're going to move into what's changed, and we're going to give you action steps today, and I hope you all take the challenge and take the information and leave empowered.
So as she's saying, it isn't, and that's kind of a belief system change, that things just run in your family, or that you're at the mercy of your genes. And this is, I don't know if you can see it, but from very early on in time, our genetics, our genome, our DNA code, which is inside our body, which determines our expression of health qualities and characteristics, it has virtually remained constant. However, roughly 70-ish years ago, 100 years ago, all this chronic illness started to change. Once we became an industrialized society, we started living outside of a habitat, and that's what she's saying with the fish, is their habitat became toxic. And so they became toxic. When they changed the habitat, clean up the water, the fish resume normal function. We live in habitats as well. Our lifestyle is our habitat. Our lifestyle has changed so much that we do not resemble anything like what our genetics have been programmed to function with health. We no longer live in tribal communities where there's lots of love and there's lots of support and everybody works together to get their food because they need it to survive. We no longer run and exercise and stay active to actually get our food, and we eat things that are completely outside of what our body even knows how to digest and process. Our environment has changed. Our DNA is the exact same. And a little bit of insight to what we're going to talk about kind of coming down the pike later on in some of the next workshops. But there's something called epigenetics. It's a branch of genetics, which means that it's not so much the DNA themselves that open and unlock and cause health or disease, but it's the environment that the gene is in. We have all these little, I'll use my marker. So here's our DNA, our chromosomes that sit inside. And there's all these little receptors that sit on the outside of them. And it's the environment, I'm a good artist, it's the environment. It's all the things we eat, how we move, and how we think that determine if that switch turns on or not. We all at any time have cancer in our body. We all at any time could turn on or turn off these genes. It's the environment that they're in that determines that. I was going to read directly from this book. And by the way, we're having this book is like a Bible of an elaboration of everything we're going to be talking about over the next several workshops. And we're doing a 3-series workshop. For everybody who comes to all 3, I think I'll give you a book. I just decided that. Okay. And I said to Ashley, I'm like, I really want to highlight. She's like, it's your book. You could highlight.
So I had to give her permission before when unhighlighted. I give you grace, highlight.
All right, just to quote, it says here, although per capita chronic illness rates have been rapidly rising for decades, as have per capita drug prescriptions, surgical treatments, and their costs, the human genes have not undergone any significant change during this time period. However, during the last 70 years, our lifestyle choices and living habitats have undergone exponential change away from our human genome-determined requirements. Not just, oh, that would be cool if you had that, but that's required. These changes exactly mirror the increase in chronic illnesses. Exactly. It's at the exact same time this exponential increase comes up, coming ahead. Further, chronic illness and drug prescription rates are rising most rapidly in children, teens, and middle-aged adults. Half our children are overweight, and each year more have heart disease, diabetes, asthma, allergies, and attention and behavior issues. According to a report in the Journal of the American Medical Association, quotes, the diagnosis of childhood chronic diseases has almost quadrupled over the past 4 decades. And I see it every single day. You guys see how many kids are in this office. We see the medications that they're on. I see the changes in them. It's scary to think about the toddlers and the children and truly what is going to happen to our society when they're the ones in charge of it. We have more kids on brain-altering medications than ever before that cannot properly access a critical thinking part of their brain called the prefrontal cortex. We are not teaching our kids what it means to be socially responsible and have good self-esteem. They are raised outside of our homes. They're being given iPads on their car seats that just destruct the brain chemistry. And these are the future leaders of our country. It's really scary. And I see so much when we talk about, people ask me all the time, well, what do your kids eat? What do you feed them? And you would be shocked what my kids eat. They've never had a popsicle with food coloring. They've never, they don't get the ice cream truck. They've never drank a glass of milk. All kinds of random things. They've never had like a sucker. But they think, gosh, you're so mean. That's so mean. You're depriving your kids. And it's loving to them. It's mean to give them the things that are killing them, literally. So what we eat, how we live, how we engage in social relationships, it matters. We need to stop asking how to treat chronic illnesses with diagnosis and treatment questions and start asking why we're developing them in the first place. How do we prevent them and how do we heal from them? Your habitat and lifestyle choices are the single greatest determinant of the level of physical and psychological health that you express and experience. You want to help have better anxiety management, more happiness, start doing the things that we're going to talk about.
All right. So what is health? We're going to go through that. This is where it's really going to pick up. But not just what is health, it's what do our bodies require to express health. So I'm going to read this slide. There are 2 underlying causes that keep our cells in a state of balance and health: sufficiency and purity. Sufficiency is when cells receive the nutrients required to genetically express health. Purity. Cells are free of toxins that force the genetic expression of stress, function, and illness. So in your folders, you have a piece of paper that says my action steps. I'd like you to grab that, or if you want to write on the back of one of your handouts, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And before I move on to the next slide, I want you guys to bullet point what you think your body requires to express health. No matter what that looks like. Food, movement, thinking, just bullet point it. 30 seconds. And go. Keep it simple. Give you a couple more seconds. All right. The big answer. No. Thank you. All right. What does that look like? I'm going to show you first in picture form. We must fuel our bodies for health every day by what we eat, how we think, and how we move. Those are nutrients that our bodies require every day, every single day. How many of you know that thoughts are toxins? Right. Thoughts are toxins. Lack of movement or exercising too much, that's a toxin. We've already started talking about eating. We've already talked about what does that look like. Spoiler alert, we're going to touch on Think and Move in later workshops, but right now we're focusing obviously on eating. But it's a good way to already get your wheels turning. What does that look like? What does health look like? In the Think module and workshop, we were genetically built to live in tribes, to have loving homes, to have a supportive group. And when we don't have that, it's a toxin for our bodies. Dr. Stephanie and I were just talking about the things that we hear from the teenage girls in our office, from moms, from dads, working dads that work so hard. We all need tribes and supportive homes. And by the way, that is why community and tribe is our passion. We want all of you to feel safe and loved in this office. That's our goal and our passion for all of you. So know that. Know that this is your tribe.
So that begs the question then, well, what do we need? What are these nutrients? What are the requirements that we need? There's two different types of responses that our body has. We are either in what's called homeostasis, which means balance and health, where all the things that your body does to regulate itself is working just as it should. Or we're in something called adaptive physiology. Adaptive physiology is when I go out for a run. What do you think happens to my blood pressure? Does it stay the same, go up, or go down? It goes up, right? Why does it do that?
Because you're putting stressors on your body.
Absolutely. So would it be a good thing if it goes up when I'm running? Yeah. How about my heart rate when I'm running? Is it higher than when you're sitting here? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah. How about when you go, has anybody ever been out to Colorado and you go up in the mountains? What happens to your oxygen levels? So your body has to make more red blood cells. Is that something wrong? Would you say your body is sick? Its red blood cell count went up. It's sick. Why not? It was adapting, which is perfect. But what if, and I would like a volunteer, please.
We have to pick on somebody?
Callie, stand up.
Yeah.
We all carry around, and this concept is going to follow us through our movement workshops and our thinking workshops, because we all carry around this invisible backpack. And this is actually my backpack that I just dumped out. I'm like, wow, time to clean the backpack. So there's some things I just couldn't get out of it. So it's got a little bit of weight. But we all carry around this imaginary backpack. And this backpack accumulates all of our day-to-day stresses. Now, does this feel very heavy right now?
No.
If I put you, so just imagine this. Just imagine that she is in a pool of water and there's nothing in it. Would you be able to swim comfortably?
Yeah. You did backstroke. Yeah.
There's the butterfly, nice and easy.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
And your body would respond appropriately to that because you're not really stressed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say she eats a meal that's, it's okay. It's not terrible. She gets a rock. We call these the rocks in the backpack. Do you notice that much?
Not much.
You could still swim, right? I mean, you're not drowning.
Right.
You'd be fine. But her body notices it, and her body at a subconscious level is going to start doing things to adapt to a little more stress and tension on it. She doesn't notice it. She's doggy paddling.
Yeah, just go along. What about if you go to work and you work in a very toxic work environment that's not very supportive? Maybe there's some passive aggressiveness. Do you think that's stressor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And not only does it feel when you walk in, but you go home, and do you think about it at home?
When
Do you
sleep.
talk to your husband about it? Do you go to bed thinking about it? Do you wake up dreading the day?
Monday. Sunday night. Oh.
So now, how does that feel? How's your swimming going to be? It's
You go
getting
little
a
bit
little
faster? You go a
harder.
little faster?
I'm going a little slower.
So her body has to adapt to that. Again, she's functioning. She's out in the world. She's going on about her day, but she doesn't realize her heart rate has to increase to keep up with that stress load that's on her body now. She's unaware of it. But then she goes to the doctor and says, why is sometimes my heart races? And I don't know why. And they take her resting heart rate, and it's 85 when it should be below 60. And you say, but I'm just sitting here calmly. Why is my heart racing?
It's heavy. It's heavy with the stressors.
What else? How about you have babies. Babies they're awesome, but they're sometimes stressful, right? You're not sleeping. That's tough.
Yeah.
You know that one.
Yeah.
Or how about you're taking care of your parent who's sick? That's a big one.
It's a big one, but I'm only putting a little one in. But that's a
Or
big one.
you have a relative just diagnosed with cancer.
It's a big one. What if you go home and your home life, your marriage, it's rough. It's a stressor. That tribe of support isn't there.
You don't exercise. The backpack.
It's
Getting heavy.
We can't put any more in.
So you're not aware of this, however. To you, this is just your life that you live. How hard is it to swim now?
It's getting hard.
And are you starting to really need some air? And your muscles are getting fatigued. And then you come in and you say, my back hurts. I have low back pain. And I didn't do anything.
I just brushed my teeth. I just tied my shoe.
I have anxiety. Would you rather have a name of that and a pill for it? What if she went to her doctor and said, I have anxiety, I can't sleep, my muscles are exhausted. I'm tired. Doctor, I'm so tired. Could you see living for 30 years with this? You'd be tired. And they said, I have several medications. You have anxiety disorder, you have high blood pressure, and tachycardia for your increased heart rate. Here's 3 different pills.
And you can't
Goodbye.
poop anymore, so you need Metamucil.
Right, and can't poop.
Because you're on all the meds.
That's right, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's the other one, and so I don't know what to do.
Right.
I need something too.
But she walks out, and she feels better temporarily. But what happens if we don't address the things that got her in this situation in the first place?
Right back here.
Right back here.
And eventually, part of the 80%, eventually ending up with full-blown cancer, heart disease, diabetes. And now you really do have a problem. Now we really do need medical care because our body has gone so far past its ability to self-correct. We really do need that now. And thank goodness you can take off the backpack. Thank you. Thank goodness we have medical care because there are things that you cannot eat or adjust or think your way out of. Many of you remember when my, at the time, 5-year-old was jumping on a pillow, fell down, broke her arm, she needed surgery. I can't adjust her. I can't fix a broken bone. We need those people. But did I just sit there as she left? Has anybody ever sent their kids into surgery? And you sit there and I think, I hope his backpack wasn't full. Right. I mean, that was the surgeon who's cutting open my daughter. What if they walk around with backpacks? It's a scary thought. It affects all of us. So we want to help you learn how to unload your backpack, and that's something I would put on your action steps is what is in my backpack?
What are my rocks?
What are the day-to-day stressors, physical, chemical, and emotional, both either currently happening or have happened in the past? These don't have to be things that are currently happening. You had a major death in the family years ago. That's still a rock back there. You had a big breakup of a relationship or a friendship that's that's if you haven't forgiven that and come to peace with it in your heart, that's still there. If you carry around anger towards people, road rage,
It's a big one.
that's a big rock
It's a daily rock
for some people.
for some people.
Yeah. So,
Just know that not every rock can immediately be taken out of your backpack, but you can address them one by one. You can. And some of them may not ever come out, but you can reframe them in your mind. They don't have to be a weight. You can adapt to them. It's important.
and the best thing is our bodies are designed, they're self-healing, they're self-regulating. We just need to unwind some of those stressors. That's why you come and get adjusted, because when you get adjusted, that unloads some of that backpack off and lets you have a little more expression of life so you can continue the healing process. So, from that note, we're going to talk about what do we actually need to eat.
Okay, hold on.
We're gonna talk about what you came here for.
Perfect. All right. So
This
guess
is
what?
easy.
This is easy. This is the best part. Real quick, this is not a fad diet. This is not a quick way to lose weight. But guess what? I have good news for you. If you eat how your body was built for your genetics, your body will go to its natural set point. That's the hope in this. But let's read this. We are designed to eat our nutrients from meat, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and seeds.
Write those down. Those are all you need.
That's it. Oh, and fish.
Anything outside of that,
Yep.
or chicken,
Yep.
anything outside of that, and guess what? Well, aside from maybe meat or some seeds, but like vegetables, you can eat as many as you want. You should see the size of the salads I eat.
Ginormous.
When my mother-in-law first saw my salad, she's like, "Are you making that for your whole family?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my lunch.
My lunch.
It's in a serving bowl." You can eat as much as you want, because I love to eat. I do not live in a world of deprivation. I like to eat. That's why I eat salads so much, because I
You can eat as much as you want.
eat them. I like them.
She does. They're huge. And the chewing, it's so loud. Sorry, side note. It's so loud. But dairy and cereal grains were never part of our diet until recently. So I'm going to read that again. Dairy and cereal grains were never part of our diet until recently. Consuming them on a regular basis is harmful to our health and not genetically required. When I talked about how I grew up, cereal and Pop-Tarts and toaster strudels, those are my breakfasts, right? Mm-hmm. Right.
What are
genetically
children
required.
eating? What are the first foods they recommend? Rice cereal. Our bodies can't digest it.
No.
It creates inflammation in the gut from 4 months of age and beyond.
Yep. All right, guys.
By the way, we're going to dive, so just so you guys know, this workshop is mostly about what we just talked about. The rocks, the risks, the implications of our choices. We really want you to take this stuff and really think about it until the next one. We are going to have a second workshop that's going to go into the details of why are grains bad for us. When I grew up, and my kids, they came home, "Mom, did you know the food pyramid, they taught us about that today at school. We're supposed to have most of our plate should be grains so we can eat that pasta that you don't let us eat anymore. We're supposed to. I learned it in school." So there's this whole conversation that has to occur. But we were raised, and our teachers and the media, drink your milk, it does a body good, right? And that your plate should be mostly grains and cereal and pasta. And now science, we're learning what that does. We're going to go into that in great detail next time, step by step by step. Next workshop's going to be really fun. We're going to have a lot of samples of foods.
And recipes.
And go over exactly why is dairy bad? To a lot of people, again, you don't drink milk? Why isn't that good for us?
Yep. I really encourage you guys, the next workshop, come with questions. We would love to help you with those. Let's talk about the fuel. How to fuel for health. Our bodies require sufficient intake, again, healthy vegetables, fruit, meat, fish, nuts, seeds, water, and sunlight. Freedom from toxins such as chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, hormones, trans fats, hydrogenated fats, artificial fats, etc. So I have 2 handouts that are in your folders. Let's pull this one out first. It's called The First Steps Towards a Healthier Diet. By the way, I'm going to have some challenges for you. You guys know I love a challenge. It makes my heart happy. All right, so just so you know, this is your cheat sheet until the next workshop. This is all you need to get started with a healthier diet. And I'm going to read through this as you're looking at it. My challenge with this handout is that you, at minimum, implement 3 of these healthy changes to your lifestyle right now until the next workshop. And I would love for you to come and talk to me or Dr. Stephanie, and I want to hear what's different. Because if you just change 3 of these that you're not currently already doing, you will have change. All right, 1, take required supplements, probiotic, omega-3s, and vitamin Ds. We're going to get into the detail of that on a later workshop. Drink half your body weight in ounces of water every day. By the way, that's just to stay hydrated. If you drink coffee, green tea, things that have caffeine in them, do you know that you need to replace that with 8 ounces of water? So you're drinking 2 or 3 cups of coffee in the morning, gotta up the water. Fresh fiber first. Eat raw fruits and vegetables at every meal and eat them first. Dr. Stephanie is really good about that in her home. Make breakfast or lunch your largest meals. Drink fresh homemade vegetable juice every day. Eat grass-fed organic meat as much as possible. Make your own food, including your own salad dressings, as much as possible. Spoiler alert, at the next workshop, I know many of you know that I love the Whole30. By the way, that is not a diet, that's a reset. But I have a whole host of recipes for just salad dressings that are easy and quick. So does Dr. Stephanie. We'll be sharing those with you. The next handout.
So as we go through this one, really look at this one here, toxins. We're going to talk a lot. What do we need for health? We need sufficiency. So we need sufficient intake of the things that we require, which is the vegetables, the fruit, the meat, the fish, the nuts, the seeds, the water, and the sunlight. We need sufficient intake of that, but we cannot, and we need purity. So that means in the next workshop, we're going to be talking a lot about also like the other things that toxify us in terms of our beauty products, like our water bottles, plastics, lotions, sunscreens, all of that. We'll get into that as well. Because that's all part of what toxifies our body.
So grab this. By the way, everything on this list is either a neurotoxin, toxic to your brain, a carcinogen, causes cancer.
Or it contributes to heart disease, such as all the trans fats.
Yep. So here's the thing. I'm not going to labor on this for long, but my challenge to all of you is to go to the grocery store this week and promise yourself you won't buy one food that has any of these chemicals, toxins, additives in them. Do you know what you're going to find? What your shopping cart actually looks like? It's going to look like that. Because I tell you what, when I did the Whole30, do you know what shocked me the most? Was how unhealthy our condiments are. The things that we flavor our foods with, dip our foods in, things like ketchup, no idea.
Barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce is a big one. My husband and I were looking for barbecue sauce last week. Oh my word. It's like going on a treasure hunt. No barbecue sauce. Anyway, I digress. But I challenge you. Go to the grocery store. You will thank yourself. And you know what? I would love it if by the time you get to the checkout line, you look down and you feel pride and pleasure because you know you're fueling yourself and your family for health. Because most of the items in your cart will be live vegetables, fruits, meats, seeds, nuts.
And kids, by the way, especially in the first 3 years of life, but especially beyond pregnancy, is another huge time that you need to be as clean as possible because you're literally developing the cells of your baby and your baby's brain. But from 0 to 3 years of life is when babies' brains are developing at the fastest rate possible. Really look, formula-fed babies, the first ingredient is corn syrup. That's what they're having in their bodies. Now, there are times when you need that, but there's healthier options there. I could go on and on about I can't wait till the next one. It's
I
going to be
know.
really
It's gonna
fun.
be good. It's gonna be fun.
But start to look at what your kids are eating because they are the most affected. It destroys their brain connections and it really creates some massive learning problems, attention problems, communication problems. Your kids are too hyper, start to look at what's in their foods. Even if you think it looks healthy on the outside, read the labels and find out how it's sourced. Caramel color is one of the biggest things. It's in everything. It's one of the most toxic things we can have, and it's in nearly everything.
It's in barbecue sauce, just so you know. Just for that.
So keep this with you. A lot of people say, I don't know where to go in the grocery store. Just start really using this.
And Dr. Stephanie and I discussed this. If you're using it so much, we will laminate it for you. We're that passionate about making sure that our tribe is successful. Oh, no. There we go. Yay.
So here's the facts. Everything you eat, it affects your cell function. Our cells are what make up our tissues, are what make up everything else that our body does. It determines whether you express health or illness. If you eat incongruently with your genes, you're going to express illness. It's not complicated. The average industrial Western diet is toxic. Start to notice, now that you start to be aware, start to notice just what people buy in the store. Look at what's in people's carts as you start to change yours. It's amazing how we just don't know, and we haven't been taught. The average industrial Western diet is toxic and deficient. It's a genetically incongruent diet, and it's suicidal. That's a harsh word, and that can trigger some emotions. But when you choose to eat, move, and think in ways that are not congruent with what your body requires, it's like suicide. Slowly, it's not quick, but over time, when those rocks in the backpack start to accumulate, you're going down a path that's not good, and you can change it. That's the exciting thing, is our bodies are self-healing. They will heal. They're self-regulating. They will regulate when you start unloading the rocks. And the current pandemic of chronic illness is directly attributable to dietary and lifestyle choices. That is not disputable anymore. That is not disputable anymore.
So the power is yours. You have the ability to directly improve your health and extend your life by making genetically congruent, health-promoting, and illness-preventing dietary choices. We've already shared with you some of the easy steps. We're going to dive into that even more in the next 2 workshops. But always remember, you control your health by what you eat, how you move, and what you think. I'm so thankful that you all came out tonight. If you have any questions, find us. We're going to be hanging out a little bit longer. But again, my goal and Dr. Stephanie's goal of this workshop is that you feel in charge and empowered, but you also feel, you know that you have the responsibility by the choices. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. We will be here.